All right, keep it going for Maddie. Come on, big round of applause for Maddie. I used to see people who were in love, and I would just say, "You're so just full of shit." And you know, people would say to me, "Matt, you know, someday you're going to meet somebody, and you're going to meet the right person. You'll fall in love, and you'll understand what this is all about." And I just roll my eyes at them and go about my business. And you know, I didn't always feel that way when I was a kid. I considered myself a hopeless romantic. And you know, when I got to high school, I always wanted to have like a really serious high school girlfriend, like I saw in all the John Hughes films, but I didn't. I just got shy and awkward around girls, and they always used to treat me like I was their best friend or their brother or a lamp, and I was just, and I didn't have a date in all of high school. I didn't even get to go to prom, and it was around this time that I started to get, the cynic in me started to push the romantic in me to the side, and I would start to think things like, you know, like what's wrong with me, and if I was better looking, girls would like me, or you know, girls say they want a nice guy, but they don't. They just like assholes. And when I got to college, I thought that, you know, I'm going to try and be this deep, introspective guy, and I'm going to be the new guy, and I'm not going to be the shy, awkward guy that I was in high school. And it worked out for me pretty well. When I was in college, I met Sarah, and Sarah was unlike anybody that I met in high school. She had like bright pink hair, and she had this car with a giant yellow smiley face painted on the front of it with the eyes X'd out. And on the back, she had "Kill Your Television" written in big block letters. And we met, and we fell in love instantly. But it was like this young college anarchist love where we were just most happy when we were like up all night listening to Rage Against the Machine and talking about how fucked up the world was. And it was great because I was young and I was in love and everything was new and raw, and even when it was bad, it felt really good. And there was a lot that was bad about it because when I met her, she had a boyfriend, and she said, you know, she was really confused about that because she was in love with him and she didn't want to leave him, but you know, she loved me and she still wanted to be with me. And she used to say things like, you know, who made up this rule that I can only be in love with one person at a time, or why can't I be with two people at the same time, and you know, I'm not going to not be with you just because society says I'm supposed to have one boyfriend. And to me, as this, you know, late night college anarchist philosopher, that made a lot of sense to me. So we stayed together. And we stayed together a while, and we stayed up together right until the point that she told me she was moving cross country to San Francisco with her boyfriend. And I was just heartbroken, and all that, you know, self-doubt that I had in high school came running back to me, and I just thought, like, why? What is wrong with me? And I just had this thought where I was like, you know what? Love is bullshit anyway, and I don't even care. And after Sarah, every time a girl didn't like me or a relationship ended before I wanted to, I just threw up more walls, and I got more and more bitter, and I got more and more cynical. And when I was 25, I decided I'm going to move out to LA, and I had hoped that when I get out here, that people would see me as this deep, brooding, intellectual type of person instead of this undateable, you know, bitter cynic. And it didn't really work. I didn't have a date for like 3 years, and it was horrible. And eventually I started dating thanks to the internet, but I didn't really take those relationships seriously because in my mind, you know, dating was designed to fail anyway, and I had already been hurt a few times, and I didn't care for that. And you know, and women didn't want to be treated nice. They didn't like a nice guy like me. And even if none of that was true, I still felt like, you know, love is bullshit anyway, so what's the point? And I felt like that for a long time, and I was really unhappy. And then eventually, about 10 years ago on Halloween, I met Valerie, and we met at the West Hollywood Halloween parade / party, and right away when I started talking to her, I knew that I liked her, and we ended up talking the whole night and spending all this time together that night, and there was literally thousands of like drunk, tripping people in crazy costumes, and it was just pandemonium, but we were just really focused on each other. And at one point I was walking through a crowd, and I reached back to grab her hand so I wouldn't lose track of her in like this sea of people. And she sort of pulled her hand away, and I was like, oh my God, this is so humiliating. But she wasn't pulling away, she was just readjusting her hand so our fingers intertwined, and it gave me goosebumps when it happened. And at the end of the night, I knew I wanted to see her again, but I was really afraid to call her because I felt like I had been hurt before, and I didn't want to go through that again. And I realized something for the first time in a long time is that I didn't want to believe that love was bullshit. You know, I wanted to believe that love was going to work for me. And I started thinking about how I got to this place of cynicism, and you know, and I realized that all these things that I've been telling myself over the years was just this bullshit narrative that I came up with to protect myself, because if I really thought about it, most of the relationships that I was in just sort of fizzled out because I was afraid to put myself out there. And even when I thought way back to Sarah and how much it hurt when she left with her boyfriend, I realized that I never asked her not to go, and I never even asked her to break up with that guy while we were seeing each other. And then if I took it a step further and I thought about high school, I realized I never actually asked anybody to go to prom, and I never even told anybody that I liked them. So this whole time, I'm this raging cynic because I'm afraid to tell people how I feel, and I want them to know what I secretly want them to do, and I'm secretly resenting them for not doing it, and it's just crazy. And all of a sudden, it's like the long-lost romantic in me comes crashing into the door, and he starts kicking over the walls, and he says, look, man, you just met a woman that you really like, and you have this great connection with her, and this is what you've wanted since you were a kid. Stop being an asshole and pick up the phone and call her. So that's what I did. The next day I called her, and we've been together ever since then, and we're married now, and we have a 3-year-old daughter, and now, sometimes when I'm talking about the love I have for my wife, I will see people roll their eyes at me. But I'm okay with that, because I know that those people could meet the right person and fall in love, and if they do, they'll totally understand where I'm coming from.